I don't know how it would work with the way our streaming setup looks.
But I would say we can do it, but we shouldn't put all of our eggs into that basket. Are we streaming?
We are now.
Okay. I've
But
just heard a rumor that it might not be available in other countries soon.
probably right.
No, so Buzzsprout actually sent out an email about it. Like, what would the impact be if you lose TikTok?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
People should tell Married at First Sight participants to stop making TikTok accounts then.
yeah, whether it's true or not, who knows?
But anyway, on to basketball, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
Card letter window. I'll close that. That's... Why is that open? Okay.
I did a little spiel there about just like welcome to our Central Coast Radio people.
Mm-hmm.
You can read that. You don't have to, but if you can do something along those lines, that would be fantastic.
Okay, so we just do the intro.
Yeah, I just think we needed to sort of do a more formal introduction to those people because.
Yeah.
But I think we can do the podcast people at the same time too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can keep refining that. I just wrote that up last week, and I thought it sounded okay. So
yeah. I'm terrible at reading off things, so I may
make
paraphrase.
it up. That's fine. I know you don't have to. It's fine. It's just like whatever you want. It's
Yeah.
just like a framework.
Yeah.
Right, I'm recording. Do you mean to do the sound?
Yes, I might get you to do the read in for the welcome to this. I'll do the intro, and then if you want to go and
So you'll say welcome to the show, and I'll do.
Like I'll say welcome everyone to the NBA Trading Card Podcast. I'm your host. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Hey Russell, how you going? You're like, hey, welcome to everybody, including our fans around the world. Blah blah blah. Welcome back.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. Yep. Sure.
Do we want to do it that way?
Yeah, if you want, that's fine. That works. Yep.
Welcome everybody to episode 140 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Good evening, Russell.
Hey, how you doing? I can breathe today. I can get air through my nose, so I'm not nearly as congested as I was last week.
Yes.
Which is great.
You were with Ryan last week.
Yeah, look, it's always good to catch up with Ryan, and if you haven't listened to Ryan's episode, I would strongly urge you to go back and listen to it because he's a very smart guy.
Yes.
And he always has some smart things to say, but he also has some nuggets to say. And I think my favorite bit was that whole conversation he did about the hoops insert being done by the original guy who drew the Kaboom. So
wow.
I already like those cards anyway. And then when he told me that, now I'm sort of tossing up, do I collect the whole set? I think that's a really cool little nugget.
My big takeaway from Ryan was market cap. I haven't stopped thinking about that since I listened to the episode. So
yeah, okay, cool. So we can definitely talk about that again today because we've got version 2 of the spreadsheet up and running with all of Ryan's suggestions in there. And actually, I texted him today and he's given me the green light that I actually listened to him properly. So that's fantastic.
Nice. Awesome.
So I think we should take this time now to welcome our listeners from Central Coast Radio. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And as we do have a couple of different time slots at the moment, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And thanks for tuning in again. And of course, all of our podcast listeners too, at whatever time of the day you're listening to it, during your transit, packing cards, sorting cards.
Yeah. On your podcast rotation. That's it. Yeah. Sneaking it in your lunch break or got the sneaky AirPods in at work when you shouldn't be.
Look, I say we get straight into it, Ad. What do you say about it?
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover this week. There's heaps.
There is a lot to cover, and let's see how we go if we'll get through the whole sheet. I suspect we won't, but these next couple of things I don't have a lot to say about, but in saying that, we definitely do need to talk about it. So I think the first thing is that eBay has announced the acquisition of Gold & Co.
Yes.
And part of the deal, and I think this is the thing that we should talk about the most, is the eBay vault has also been sold to PSA. So that's a little bit of a, I feel like you almost need to sit down and draw a map of how all these things now link in together. But let's just break it down one piece at a time. So let's discuss the Golden being sold to eBay. Where are you with this?
I'm in a lot of minds about it. I'm not sure what the everyday collector experience is going to be as far as different. I don't think it will be.
Sure. Can I answer that?
Sure.
So I think for me, this is where I see the major benefit is that instead of, and this is where I find Golden's PWCC all a little bit clunky. You can't just go onto your phone like you can with eBay and scroll through the listings.
Yeah.
I have to sit down on my desktop. I have to log in, do the search function. Whereas my very basic understanding is now all of the Golden's listings are going to be dual listed on Golden's and then also on eBay. So in terms of you having access to more listings and potentially better listings, I'm using air quotes for that. So
Sure.
maybe some higher end stuff.
Yeah.
And I think also too maybe a little bit of the downside was if you were listing on Golden's or you were listing on PWCC, there wasn't the same volume of people bidding on items on those things. So that I think that will also trickle back in. There's going to be a lot more eyeballs on these listings. So
Yeah.
I completely interrupted you, but yeah.
No, I think the main impact would be maybe some of the high end stuff will be shield bid as well. Just
Yeah, so that part I'm not too sure about because I wonder if so they've got two types of auctions available. One type of their auctions is that any regular collector, and I'm including myself into this, can go onto their site and bid on them. And then they've got another section where you need to have a verified credit card of $100,000 to then go into those high-end bids.
Ooh.
So I wonder if those high-end bids are going to be kept separate because for obvious reasons that you were just talking about, then, you know, people still bidding up and just basically mucking around on high-end stuff. I couldn't imagine that would be that appropriate.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm using air quotes, the lower-end stuff of Golden's will be listed across onto eBay. So that's how I imagine that it gets played out.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting the way that it's that it rolls out, I guess.
Yeah.
What about the vault?
2 seconds before we touch on that, I think we do need to congratulate Mr. Ken Golden on cashing out. He's got his bag. He can now go off to his retirement, be sipping pina coladas very comfortably for the rest of his life. So congratulations, sir. You've done well.
Yeah.
I am expecting this to be on season 2 of his Netflix show, though.
I saw him on Facebook. I'm gonna send him another friend request.
And just message him. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, that's it.
That will.
Maybe we should ask if he wants to come on the show. I'll try and send him a PM.
Well, now he's retired. He's going to have
plenty of time
on his hands. That's right. Yeah.
Fly out to Australia and do a live show with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the vault, I'm going to start this off with a little bit of a joke because I've always imagined what these vaults will look like. Almost an army aircraft hangar that's all been, reinforced and something like this.
Yeah.
And now that it's this combined vault, now I'm just sort of thinking, is it going to be like a double-decker vault and maybe there's a level under the ground that's, reinforced for bombs or something. I would love to be able to have it like a tour through something like that, actually.
A tour through the PSA vault.
Yeah. I mean, all jokes aside, though, I think in terms of being a collector, I really like this in terms of the practicality of it. So, for example, you buy a card that's been listed on eBay. It's then sent to the eBay vault, which can then be sent to PSA for grading. And then I then assume you could then send it off to Golden's for auction. So I think, there's something to be said about that. And then even if you're just sending off your card to PSA to get graded, then it could be then sent to Golden's. I like that type of stuff. And I think we've been seeing... So let's talk about Wemby for 2 seconds as a working example.
Yeah.
I think now is the right time to be selling Wembys. The absolute fire that is surrounding this guy and his hobby love at the moment. It's pretty obvious that people are getting cards, sending them off to PSA, and then sending them straight to auction. And I think that's the right play at the moment. I've got no troubles with that at all. That is definitely not a criticism. But I think the speed of the processes at the moment enabling people to do that is a big reason why people are getting good returns at the moment. So I think that sort of fits into all of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I think that's the pros of it. The cons of it is that now there's this basically a monopoly, and then how do you compete against it? And I think there is something to be said about that. And so my thought process around that is, we had someone come onto the podcast a while back, and their vision was to build a platform to compete against eBay. And I'm using this as an example just because it's easy for me to pair out, and not because, you know, I think that their business plan was bad. I'm not criticizing it, nothing like that at all. But I'd also say too, you know, competing against a huge company like that, I think is very problematic, like, you know, trying to chip away at it. And then when someone does something like this, I think that just increases their value again. So like where I'm going with this is, I don't see anyone now competing with eBay in this market space anymore.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah.
They've just sort of taken a step up in the space, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
they didn't have direct connections, but this whole one-stop shop where you've got a premium auction area, a general public auction area,
Yeah.
and then you've got the certified card like market, so to speak.
Yeah.
All in one spot.
PSA. Yeah, that's right. And then you can get your cards. So look, I think, again, if I'm being, again, transparent about my feelings about this, I've been very pro eBay for a long time. And I think if you've listened to the show, you know that I think eBay is a good platform. And I've also said in the past too that they've been doing things to improve their processes. And that's something that, even if you're an eBay hater, you can't deny that. Like, they have definitely been trying to, first of all, they improved the buyer's experience. And I think they've done a good job at that. And now they've been doing a lot of work to now protect the sellers. So I feel like what they've done now is quite clever, because both ends are relatively quite well protected. And then the other thing they've tried to implement recently was the card verification part. So I think that's been clunky, but I still think that the premise behind it is excellent. And maybe now what we might see is that process is completely streamlined. And also too, they might get a bit more input from, and I'm saying this kindly, from people who are professionals who can actually correctly verify and read listings properly. Because I think that's been part of their problem, is that the listings haven't been exactly perfect, but the photos matches, and then verification fails because of some, you know, stupid thing that's been written on a listing, which I that type of stuff drives me absolutely crazy. That just, like, to me, fails the smell test.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. I feel like I think we could see a revamp or a stage 2 of the verification process.
I hope that does happen with this new agreement that's coming into place. So, yeah, I really think so. Maybe one of the other things it's going to happen here is that smaller platforms that might have been trying to, you know, build a foothold, like we've got that one coming out of China. I think that's a big enough market in itself that that's probably going to self-sustain, and I don't think that's going to be a big deal. But maybe some other sort of smaller selling platforms, you know, that will be the end of them. That would be one outcome I could imagine happening. And then, so they've got this, eBay's also got the agreement with ComC, which I think is a really important one now. So they've really integrated a whole lot of hobby things in, you know, really quite nicely. So I'm very pro eBay at the moment, actually. Like, I should be maybe checking their share price and seeing what's happening there, right?
It's good to see a nice I don't know. It's nice for us to have good words of eBay for once.
So we've said lots of good words. What's some negatives? I feel like we can't just sit here and bang the eBay drum too much.
We did touch on the negatives of it becoming a monopoly.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
There's a lot. It's going to be, the market rates will be dictated now by eBay. Like it's going to be golden.
Maybe that's a negative, that they could put their prices up again and there's nothing we can do about it because they're so integrated into everything else. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're sort of pushing everybody onto one platform, and the rate is the rate. And if you don't like the rate, go somewhere you're not going to have
right.
it.
Yeah, that's right. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've covered that really well. The next thing is to talk about Fanatics Fest, which has now been announced. It's going to be in New York City, August 16 to 18.
We did mention this a couple of weeks ago that Fanatics have still got these events planned.
Yep.
It was bound to happen, right?
The writing was definitely on the wall because when the Nationals was coming, there was a lot of talk from people that Fanatics were too big to be there. They don't need to go to the Nationals. They're going to have their own national type event. So here we are. Tom Brady, Kevin Durant, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Sabrina Ionescu, which I'm very excited about, Derek Jeter, Hulk Hogan. So they've clearly got the celebrities ticked off in absolute spades. 400,000 square feet will include exclusive merchandise, product drops, major announcements, and more from NFL, NBA, WNBA, MLB, NHL, and more.
Yeah.
And there will be a trading pit for people to basically trade to their heart's content, which I think is an interesting one because there has been some social media reports from other traders' days and Nationals event where people have been asked to leave. They haven't been permitted to be doing trades. So I think that's a really good one that they've allowed that to go through.
Yeah.
We should also, sorry to interrupt you there, we should give credit to where we're getting this information from. Unfortunately, it's from Sports Card Investor.
Is this a sign that Sports Card Investor are almost one of those unofficial like news reporting entities now?
He's very well connected.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
We can't deny that. He's very well connected.
Yes.
So would you go to an event like this? I think that's the real and the easiest question.
I'd check one out for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no incentive not to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look like a bad card show. I don't know. I'd go and check one out for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, have they disclosed what entry is? Is it some outrageous amount of money or?
Doesn't say.
Yeah. Be interesting to know comparatively. Yeah. Just curious.
Look, if I can be honest with you, it's not that I wouldn't want to go, but I think I'd probably prefer a smaller event just for my sort of like personality typing.
Yeah.
And I also, again, anecdotally have heard that sometimes the smaller events have better tables because you've just got people with boxes of sort of, $1 cards, 10-cent cards that you can sort of sit there and sort of sift through. I do wonder if this will be the type of thing where it looks all very beautiful and everything's all very high powered. And so I think it's going to be a personality typing thing is where I'm getting to it with this. Now, I think the real thing is, do I think this is good or bad for the hobby? This is fantastic. And this is actually the type of thing that I think we do need. And some people have been asking for a long time, like well-produced, visually appealing hobby days that you can go in and enjoy the air quotes again, immersive experience, right? So
yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to provide here.
Yeah, it's not going to be your run-of-the-mill card show.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be more of an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And overall, congratulations to Fanatics for, giving back to the hobby because I'm sure it's not going to be a break-even, adventure for them. So
I'm intrigued to see what this evolves into because this will be the first of many events rolled out by Fanatics.
The next couple of things are going to be straight from our social media. So we're just going to run through a couple of posts. So thank you so much, Andrew Dean. He posted some custom cards, but they look sick. Now, I want to talk to you about this because I actually feel very strongly about custom cards. I think that another way you could also say custom card is you could say forgery. You could say illegitimate child or illegitimate card.
Say unlicensed?
I mean, it's not even unlicensed, it's just like bootleg stuff, right? So, look, I'm not with them at all. And I think probably part of my issue too is that I can look at these cards and I know that they're not real, but there is that sort of element at the back of my head where I'm scared that I'm going to get tricked one day by either a custom card. There was a case this week on Instagram where a person had been selling fake PSA cards and fake PSA slabs for a long time, and they finally got caught up and were arrested by the police. So
Yeah.
I sort of put that into that same sort of pot and kettle. And so, again, I'm really stretching here, but someone was trying to sell off a custom card this week on a card collecting page, and it's just like, this is not the appropriate forum, for that to be sold off on, honestly. For example,
yes.
Temu sells that stuff, right? And I think that, to me, speaks a lot about Temu. That place, to me, is... I think if you give the money, you shouldn't expect to get your stock. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Where are you at with customs?
I think if you're gonna produce a custom card, it's got to be for yourself. But to put it out into the world is I'm not for it.
Yeah.
If I was gonna do something in a custom card thing, it'd be something to use as a space filler, as part of a PC display, maybe. But I don't like the idea of, like, I'm not gonna, what is it, a Wemby Kaboom. Like, no, that's just, no.
So I think Andrew's comment down here is that it needs to be prominent on the card that it is a custom card. And so the Kaboom, I mean, that's a custom because it's the art type and it hasn't got that baby Kaboom or the Kaboom type print pattern into it, right? Whereas that Color Blast, that's very close to the truth.
That is, the Color Blast actually looks very Color Blasty, yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, this next one is from Dane Neville. Hey, you can't comp this crew. Just wanted to throw my 3 cents on a recent topic on the pod. Why SGA's Prism rookie card is not super valuable. I personally think SGA is awesome. However, I won't be buying a single Prism rookie card of his. Why? I hear you all ask. Because it doesn't have the rookie card logo on it. It just looks like a vet card. I much prefer Donruss Optic rated rookie, which is clearly a rookie card. I believe the Prism card value would be noticeably higher if it had the crest. Anyone else feel this way? Thank you, Dane, for that beautiful thought piece. And Adam, I'll send that straight to you.
I think it takes away from it, for sure. Not having the rookie logo. I mean, the template of the card is in that rookie look.
Yep.
But it doesn't have the shield. And the shield is probably one of the more important elements on the card. In my opinion. I mean, we know that's his rookie year, but yeah. Yeah, without the RC on it, we're yeah.
So it's an error card that it doesn't have the rookie logo on it, and I'm not disputing that for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I will slightly push back on this because the last sold price on this, the PSA 10 silver, was 600 USD.
Mm-hmm.
So I think traditionally his cards have been quite low. So if you go back a year or 2 years, and I think that was more about market than the fact that it didn't have a logo on it. The other card I'd probably also point out too is that there's a couple of years with Flawless where the RPAs didn't have a rookie logo on it. And so
you're right.
So in some ways I'm actually agreeing with Dane here because I actually think those are devalued because that's what you want. Rookie patch autograph, and it's missing the rookie part of it.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue is it's not easily identifiable to say, okay, this is actually a 17-18 card, which then is a rookie card. You actually need to flip the card over the back and then... So what is really the aesthetic difference between a 17-18 and a 18-19 card in that instance? So that's probably where I feel on that. Whereas this one, because of the patterning, as you pointed out, I'm pretty confident that this is his... Well, I know it's his rookie card, but just looking at it, I'll be pretty confident that it is. So,
yeah.
Look, The part I do disagree with, though, is the value. I mean, this is currently trading at $600, which is a very large chunk of cheddar. I think we can both agree that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've got you on this, buy, hold, or sell SGA at 600.
SGA at 600.
Yeah.
Pop count of...
So total gem population
Yeah.
is 648.
Okay. So it's not all... They're PSA.
648, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So thanks, Ryan, for that little extra tidbit of knowledge there.
We can drill down. 604 total gems. Okay, yeah. No, it's a hold for me.
Okay.
I'm not buying it at that. But I'm not the biggest fan of SGA either. Like, I think he's the way his prices are going, and I'm not going to waffle too much about it, but I can see that it's trending in the right direction, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, I still don't. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
I think SGA as a prospect is good. In fact, I will say is a great prospect.
Mm.
And I think for me at this price, I think 600 is a good time to sell because, and I might have been sitting looking at this spreadsheet for too long today, but looking at the combined pop reports for some of these cars, it does actually make you think, actually this is quite high.
Yeah.
So, and if you like SGA as a prospect, I would say take that 600 and then roll it into something else. And I do wonder if the more I think about this, maybe this is actually the more of the play of what we should be looking at. So yes, you use this, really nice, juicy, lots of data points in it for the PSA 10 data, but then you say, okay, right, maybe I should be looking at something else. So I'm just going to segue down the list just a little bit, just because I think this will fit in quite nicely.
Sure.
So there's a Luka Doncic certified sale that just happened recently. So this came straight from our friends at Card Ladder. PSA 10, it's a purple. It's sold for 1,718. The population on this is 3, though. And so do I think this is the world's greatest buy? No, I don't. But I do think this is worth discussing because it definitely moves away from that extremely high population, which is his silver PSA 10.
Yeah.
The population on that is 3,158. So, and now we're talking total population. So gem mints, so that's from BGS, SGC, yada, yada. So again, thank you, Ryan. And so I think that's what this person's done. They've said, okay, great, I'm going to take my money out of that and I'm going to put it into something that's much lower pop. So I think that's where my head is at with, SGA, Luka at the moment with this, quite high population stuff.
Yeah.
I think we should take a break now and we should hear from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
See you in a bit.
This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit www.slambox.com.au to check out the latest series or join the Slambox Facebook page and message them directly. Slambox features big name autos including Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Banchero, Chet, Ja, Tatum and more. Super short prints, case hits from a variety of different products including National Treasures, Flawless, Noir, Immaculate, Impeccable, and more. Slambox has different tiered product levels to cater for all budget levels and collector preferences. Thank you, Slambox, for your support.
We are back. Thank you for coming back. And I think the next thing we should talk about, is also some new news in the hobby. BGS have adjusted their pricing.
They have. They have indeed. A couple of discounts or price reductions.
45 plus business days, $14.95. Standard grading, 20 to 25 business days, is $35 a grading. So obviously we're talking USD at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Express, 7 to 10 days, $80. And the priority, which is 2 to 3 business days, $125.
Yeah.
points to consider. There's no upcharging. So PSA does the graded fee structure depending on the value of your card is how much you would then charge. So
Yeah.
BGS they don't offer that. No membership fees and no minimum requirements. So I think for me, BGS is clearly trying to do something here. They're trying to, get themselves back into the marketplace. So I think they're trying to compete with pricing. I think they're trying to compete with days. And I think the other thing too, they're trying to compete with is like the minimum submission numbers, which is pretty easily gotten around these days if you're going in with like a group sub, like it's a non-issue. Look,
there's a phrase that's coming to mind.
Tell us the phrase.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, definitely. 5 years too late, maybe.
They needed to come out of COVID with this. Do you know what I mean? Like once the backlog was cleared, they needed to hit the ground running with this. 2 years ago.
That is absolutely true, but I think we would be remiss to not say that during COVID, they were sending cards back to people.
Yeah, true.
They didn't even put them into their queue. They just sent them back. So like that's where that company was at. And I think we don't need to say, really anything more than that. Look, I just spent a decent amount of time with Ryan last week, and we actually discussed this either on the air or off the air. And we were talking about the 9.5 and the impact that that's had on their company and how that 9.5 is gem mint, but PSA's gem mint is 10. And maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they price their cards at. People like the number 10 more than they like the number 9.5. Like, is it as simple as that? So I actually wonder if their business model is flawed.
Look, I'm a big fan of the flat rate. I'm a huge fan of the flat rate.
Me too.
The fact that I know what I'm paying to have my card graded when I send it off is amazing.
I agree.
The fact that PSA try to take their piece of your pie for grading the card is, in my eyes, I feel I see it as unethical. It's like, it's not their card to take a piece of the pie out of. If I'm the lucky person that pulls some crazy... Like, if I pull the Wemby 1 of 1, I shouldn't be charged thousands upon thousands of dollars to have it graded.
Yeah, sure. And
I'd probably pay the 125 though for priority grading. Anyway,
what I'm about to say is I'm going to come off as a total PSA simp here, and I'm
yeah.
I'm not even ashamed. It's not that I'm ashamed. It's just how I feel about this whole thing. So what you said is correct. Where I will push back though is the surprise isn't that great. You either pay the sub 500 or you pay the above 500, right? And then if the card comes back at 10 and then your values increase, that's the explanation for that.
Sure.
Now, the part that maybe we should emphasize here is that part of the reason why you pay the higher grading fee is because PSA also, for lack of a better word, will insure the card. So if it turns out that the card is not, let's use the easy example of a Jordan, right?
Yep.
If they grade a fake Jordan as a real Jordan, you send it off to grading for them, then it turns out that the card is not real, they will actually reimburse you for the value of that card. And that goes across every single card that's to PSA. Now, and again, now that we're talking about BGS and PSA, no other grading company offers that assurity. And I think that's I don't want to pay that high fee. So let's just get that out of the way. But in saying that, I do want that guarantee. So I'm happy to pay that higher rate to get that guarantee. So that's where I'm sitting.
Yeah, that's a reasonable counter there. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like just going. I'm just going to pay, and you guys grade my card. Yeah,
definitely. It's simpler, easier.
Yeah.
No questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what are the because it's such a quick moving market. My thing here, and I think there's actually a comment from one of the listeners in the chat. Where do PSA get their value from?
They literally use comps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're like, people don't always pay comps.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like it's where the value's coming from is a point in time thing, and it's
There's
I
a
don't
bit
know.
of wriggle. There's a bit of wriggle with it, and my understanding is that obviously they do have to enforce a rule, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's not always up to the highest point of what you would imagine. So
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just it's interesting. I do like the
Yeah,
black and white
definitely.
approach from BGS, but you're right. It does come with a lot of guarantees, and the reputation of PSA to sort of come through on that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
Alrighty, the next segment, All-Star Voting version 2. So if you would like to have a look at this, please go to our Facebook page. It's in the pinned post. Click on the link to go to the Google Doc, or if you're listening to the podcast, it'll be in the podcast description. Please click on that and then have a listen along. So I'm going to turn this over to you because I did this with Ryan last week, and my feelings haven't really moved a whole bunch on this, other than I have been studying Steph Curry cards a lot, and so that's probably the one that my eye has definitely been onto, and I would love to hear about, out of all these numbers that's sitting in this spreadsheet, what captures your attention the most.
Interesting when you said captures my attention, because after listening to last week's episode, I did say market cap was an interesting. I think Ryan explained it really well.
Clever people will do that.
Yeah, and it was like, it's obvious that you multiply the value of the card by the number of copies of the card to get what the market cap is, right?
Yeah.
But doing it as a... What is it? It's as a how much money's been spent on this card isn't necessarily true, but how much money is invested in the card is true. Because not everybody paid that amount for those cards. So, but it's obviously not pinpoint data, but it's a very interesting way of looking at it. Because I mean, LeBron and Steph are the two that obviously stand out.
Yeah,
they're the ones that are above 5 million. And there are reasons for that, because the cards in question are worth a lot of money. I've been doing some Steph Curry research of my own. It's been super, super detailed, and it involves me walking down the street because the NBA exhibition thing is on in Docklands at the moment.
Did you go?
No, but I know where it is because in school holidays there are a lot of kids going. And so what I did is when I went for my coffee and
Back to school, kids. Enjoy your first day.
That's it. My kids are all back. But every time I went down for a coffee, I'd walk past where the NBA exhibit was, and the kids sort of going, like families going, kids with jerseys on, parents with jerseys on. There's not as many parents with jerseys on. Most parents had like Jordan jerseys, or do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
old school. It was close to 50% Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Like, Jono just said in the chat, it sounds weird, Adam looking at kids. I was looking at their jerseys. This is not going to end well for me. It was literally like pushing 50% Steph Curry. And it just gets me to thinking that kids that are like, I don't know, between the ages of, say, 10 and 15, that are all running around in Steph Curry jerseys now,
Yep.
none of them have jobs right now.
100%. Yep.
And that's probably the player they're going to buy when they get one.
Yep. So it's going to be Jordan. I think the one in between is probably Kobe, then LeBron. I think the one after that's going to be Steph. I wonder if that's sort of the logical
progression.
Yeah.
I feel like LeBron kind of is in an interesting spot. I don't know where LeBron's fan base comes from, if that makes sense. I don't know. The LeBron haters are very loud.
He's been around for 20 years, though.
Yeah.
Even if you're a hater, I still think you'll be buying his cards.
Yeah. He's
Like,
He's one of the greatest players of all time, and there is.
Let's be realistic about this. It's fun to poke fun at him and all that type of stuff, and I can't say I've never done it because I have, but it doesn't mean I don't love the guy and think the things he's done is amazing. So I think, you know what I mean? I think all of that stuff is a bit of whatever, to be honest. So look, I think part of this conversation was actually had off air. So Ryan was highlighting some of the Steph Curry stats, and I've been looking into them. So I think for me, affordability is also part of this equation. I'm not going to be able to shell out for that. So I've been looking at the bases. I've been looking at the PSA 8s, PSA 9s, PSA 7s, sort of around that space there. I do wonder if, yes, you're buying a lower grade. Yes, you're buying base, and that's something that we traditionally would, move away from. But I think there is exceptions to that rule, and I think Steph Curry rookie cards is, one of those exceptions.
Yeah.
And then for all of the things that you just touched on before about, progression moving forward, the population on this is still, really low. So the easy example here is even Jason Tatum. So some of these numbers have changed a lot from last week. So basically Tatum's population more than doubled from the table last week because of the way. So this week it's got PSA, BGS, yada, yada. So that's changed.
Yeah.
The other change for this week's spreadsheet too is Halliburton. Halliburton's price is not bottomed out, but he's gone down a lot. So I'll finish this Steph Curry thing really quickly. I think that is a buy, and I think that's something to, look into more. And then we've been talking about Halliburton potentially being a $500 card. So I said a couple of weeks back, wait for the off season. I wonder if this is going to trickle down a bit more. I think that's exactly what's happening now. So I still put Halliburton as a buy. I think he's, a good prospect to be having a look at. Just wait and, buy your time.
Yeah.
And then now I'm looking at this data again. I think the Şengün, I touched on Şengün last week. I'm going to double down on that again. I think there's some juice left to squeeze in that orange, man.
What is he? 130. Yeah, right.
$133. Look, there's not a lot of sales data on this guy. He's a bit tricky, so I think the fluctuations there are going to be quite large.
Yeah.
So you might get lucky or unlucky, but the population is, it's quite low, 105.
So you reckon if you pick up a PSA 10 Şengün for like $120?
I think if you get it for 150 US or less, I think that would be totally acceptable. Yeah. What about, is there anything on here that's made you think, I should buy this or I should stay away from this, something like that?
But everyone knows what's coming from me, right?
So you can say it.
It's Luka.
Stay away from?
The pop count of Luka.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
3,158.
It's quite eye-watering, isn't it? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's definitely changed my perspective or opinion on this.
Trae Young, well, that's a stay away.
I think that's been played out,
Yeah. But if we're looking at the pop counts, you go, so you've got Luka, you've got Trae Young, and then you think it's Edwards and Tatum.
Yeah. The Edwards one is quite interesting, though, I think, because the pricing on that is very different from both Luka and also from Trae Young.
But it's very similar to Tatum.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they got similar pops.
More graded of Edwards, though. That actually took me by surprise.
Yep. This is definitely the Anthony Edwards sort of breakout year, though. So.
Yes, I think bigger picture for Edwards is I'm really struggling with Edwards at the moment because if you go to the card letter data that shows you all of their cards put in together, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, and then Anthony Edwards is there in terms of market cap. It's quite fascinating, but I think it's not as murky it's murkier than what you realize because the number of cards that Edwards has in comparison to Bill Russell, for example, there's so many more Anthony Edwards cards. So then how you sort of unpack that to sort of, capture the real value. So that's why I wonder if doing single cards like this, I think that other data is important. I'm not trying to dismiss it, but I wonder if using single cards like this, it becomes more important. So maybe that's something else we can start building into the sheet ad. Yeah. We put in another column and then we say you can put a filter onto it for retired players. Then we start putting in like Jordan, Clyde Drexler, James Worthy, Bill Russell. We do some of these like big boys and, not smaller boys, but, the James Worthys and guys like that. And then maybe that will give us a bit greater context. And then you can compare Giannis to Magic Johnson. You can compare LeBron James to Jordan.
Yeah, we're
Drexler
looking
to
at
Luka.
a completed career, like the performance of a card for a player with a completed career.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, still a work in progress. We've had someone actually apply to have editing rights to it. So I've said yes to that person. I've made a backup of the sheet. So if it all does go pear-shaped, it's going to be okay. So let's see, where this goes.
Whoever's got those editing rights, just add a 0 to the Luca pop count, please. It'll make me chuckle a little bit.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Adam, this is from you, mate. So I'll let you drive this one through. This is a black Prism Select 1 of 1 Steph Curry versus a gold LeBron James BGS.
Oh, look, it's
9.5.
You know, I can't help myself with these card ladder.
You do love a good comp. Yeah.
It's well, I mean, they say you can't comp this, but we can.
That's right.
We can. I thought it was interesting. It was like Steph versus LeBron. We kind of went into that a little bit with the All-Star data.
Yeah.
But yeah, what would your choice of card be? We've got a LeBron James 9.5 gold prism from 14-15. 14-15.
I'm going to make this brief. I'm going with the LeBron for 3 reasons.
Okay.
I think that the card looks better.
Yep.
I like the aesthetics of it. I like the color of it better than the black.
Ooh.
And there are so many select 1 of 1s. You can almost make the argument that the population on that is like the same as that LeBron that's numbered to 10. I know that's a stupid thing to say.
No. If there are 15 1 of 1s in select,
yeah,
then that's 1 of 15, right?
and the number to 5 and the 3, so it probably adds up to about 10 anyway. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm sort of sitting with that.
Okay.
I actually really love that design on that prism set. I think that is just a beautiful card. So there's a lot happening with that select card.
There is. I don't know. A 1 of 1 Curry.
Tough to go past.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of different ones. I don't know. I'm the fact that it's PSA as well, but the fact that it's a graded 1 of 1, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look, I think that
Would you take the LeBron and crack it and resub it to
definitely
PSA?
not. Definitely not. I think that more speaks to the era of that particular card.
Yeah.
And I keep coming back to this spreadsheet, but it's the same as the players. So depending on the era of the card, you can see a very clear line in the sand. So if it's this particular era, they'll be more graded with BGS. If we're at that crossover time, there's sort of like equal parts BGS, equal parts PSA. Then the newer guys in the ultra modern, Anthony Edwards, it's like all PSA and maybe 1 or 2 BGS, and that's about it. So that doesn't fuss me at all with that card. And I wouldn't even, frankly, I wouldn't risk it, cracking it, sending it off, getting it back, or what I mean, all that type of nonsense. I think that goes straight into your safe.
I mean, not that we put too much stock in it, but the card ladder value is 11,900 on the Curry and 14,500 on the LeBron. So
yeah,
seems about right.
It's very close to the card actual sold listing, though, isn't it? Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know. I think there's cases for both, but I thought it was nice to do a LeBron versus Steph, given the All-Star.
That is beautiful. Let's go to our second break of today, and we will hear from our friends at Slambox. Just going to take a really quick break. What ad did we play before?
I can't remember. We played. No, we didn't. Was it the other one?
EJ Cards?
Did we?
Jeez. This is like old man deluxe.
I think it was the other one. It wasn't Slambox. What's the other
Bang Man?
Bang Man. I'm pretty sure it was
All right.
Bang Man, wasn't it?
All right. Let's hear from our friends with Slambox.
This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit.
Nah, that's the one we did before.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I remember now. Let's hear from our friends at Bangman.
The Bangman, our proud sponsor to the podcast. Thank you so much to Team Bangman for your ongoing support. April Bronze Edition is out. It is absolutely loaded. Value galore here. The highlight of this month's Bronze Edition is 5 different rookie classes. That's right, you have the opportunity to hit top rookies out of 5 different rookie classes, and this is absolutely packed. Prism, Select, Mosaic, Optic, Flux, Hoops Premium, Donruss. Bronze packs are predominantly retail products, so blasters, megas, T-Mall is what you're looking at here. But in terms of a fun rip, you cannot go past this. $129 delivered. There is no room for a promo code on this because it's so jam-packed full of value. Contact Team Bangman on Facebook or Instagram and they will hook you up. Thank you, Team Bangman.
Okay, we're back. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. Adam.
Yes. That was a good. That was a good break. Is it my turn to do another player versus player?
Yeah, please.
All right. All right. Well, you want me to? I know why you want me to introduce this. I did pick it.
I want some plausible deniability here. I didn't put this into the run sheet.
You didn't.
I just want to be fully hands off on this one.
I am obsessed with these player versus player things. So, which card do you prefer? A Panini Select, De'Aaron Fox, Gold Prism to 10, PSA 10, or Zion Williamson Blue. So that's the number to 199.
This is the heart versus the head conversation, isn't it?
is.
So my heart just says De'Aaron Fox straight away. The number to 10, PSA 10, that is very juicy. If I'm using my head, though, I think the color match on the blue, the potential on that Zion is really high. Oh, yeah. Look, I think if you're asking me about this from my own PC, I mean, this is not a conversation.
You're on the Fox straight away.
Straight to Fox.
Yeah.
But I think if you're asking me about, putting this away and potentially reselling it into the future, I think the Zion is the obvious answer there. Yeah.
I think Zion is seeing a bit of a resurgence.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, I think Zion is owed some kudos this season for getting out and getting it done. So I don't know, number to 199.
I think it's more the color match for me that really gives it that little bit of pop. It's a very nice looking card.
It is. Yeah, I would go the Zion because it is a prism. I'd be curious to know the pop count on the Zion, the blue. I mean, it won't be higher than 199, so it's not going to be eclipsing Luka anytime soon.
No, that is very true.
But yeah, no, it's a one of those comps where it's not 120,000 versus 130,000. Like, this is 1,800 versus 1,600 for the sales. Like, this is yeah.
So I'm actually looking at the pop report now. So data provided by GemRate. So thank you again, Ryan. So gems from PSA is 36. Now this is super weird. Beckett Black Label 10 is 2. Perfect 10 is 14. And still the Gem Mint 9.5 is 91. So either there's an error in the database or people have resubmitted that card at a furious rate, because that almost seems improbable to me that
you get
a
that
card
many
with that population has been graded that many times. So I'm going to say let's disregard the Beckett data and just look at the PSA data for... Or even if we just say, look, why don't we look at the data on the 10s? So that would take us to...
I mean, the
52.
two black labels are...
Yeah.
Wonder what one of those would go for.
I mean, either that or that... It's a very, very big difference between the gem rate, though. 77% with Beckett and 32% with PSA. I'm just saying we just disregard this ad, I think.
Interesting.
That's too weird for me. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're both on the Zion?
Yeah, so look, I think we take the time out to have a look at his silver PSA 10 price, because we're talking about the young man. 360 USD was the last sold. Look, my sort of unintentional comedy piece of all this is that there's been so much hobby chatter about this guy, and he propped up the hobby for a good 18 months. and then he was injured, obviously, and he copped a lot of flack for that. But now he's back and he's playing really well, and there's just no narrative around it. And I think that's part of the media world that we currently reside in, of all this sort of clickbaity type stuff. But
Yeah.
I think we do need to give it to him. Like, he's been playing very well. The Pelicans are in the playoffs and not in the play-in bracket.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of injuries this year, so I think that you have to give some, kudos to this guy. He's been playing really well.
And it's funny because I'm looking at the last 6 months, and he's actually down almost 35% in the last 6 months.
That's right. Which doesn't fit at all with everything else that's going on. The only thing that you could
He's
make a
up
pretty...
in 3.
You can make a very strong argument for this, so as the total population on this. So it's 1,751 for PSA, 1,863 for Beckett, and then another 23 with SGC, and then another 5 with CSG.
Yeah. So in the pop report on Card Ladder,
yeah,
it's got total population of the card 8,459, total gems 3,642.
Yeah.
So it gems at a rate of 43%.
Yeah, right. Does that make it a stay away? Look, I obviously we need to equate for budget. That obviously needs to be said, but at the same time, maybe that blue is a much, much more shrewd purchase than a silver, as we're currently standing with population. All right, Joel Embiid is back. I'm very happy that Embiid is back. And I would also say, too, that he did leave the court early the other day. And I haven't actually checked on the injury report of that. But I think in terms of importance, I want to talk about this because I still think that the 76ers have got a good chance this year to do something good in the playoffs. And
I agree.
That has got a lot to do with Embiid's health and, the way that he's playing. So, to me, the fact that they've hung around as well as they have in his absence, to me, speaks a lot.
Yeah.
PSA population on this is 86. The last sold on this is 1,250. Look, this is not a small purchase, but at the same time, yeah, that actually surprises me, to be honest. I'm surprised that he's as high, as what he was, and maybe the piece here is that we're sort of 2 years too late talking about this. But then when you look at the 2-year sales, actually he's down 45%. So
yeah, he's in the last year he's down 20%. He took a big dip and sort of bit of a resurgence at the beginning of the year.
All right, so is this a good buy at $1,200 then?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm really not sure. I don't know.
What makes you not sure though? I'm trying to lead you into this a little bit.
Like, even
for me, it's injury history. I'll
put him into the same, flat out. Yeah,
the same thing as Zion. Like, you're just not really too sure with this guy. You know, every time he does something amazing, you're like, oh, did he hurt himself at the same time? So
yeah. Don't.
All right. Going from $1,200 down to 99 cents. So we're now going to talk about Malachi Flynn. He had a 50 ball the other day.
Yes, I saw a
Now, just for some clarity here, this was supposed to be in last week's run sheet, but I had about 12 things in the run sheet last week, and Ryan and I got through about 3 things. So there's a little bit left over from last week. So this is probably not as topical as it once was, but I wanted to talk about this. And
he didn't back it up with another 50-point game.
He did not. Unfortunately, he didn't. Look, the thing I want to talk about this is, should you be excited about this? And I wanted to give some context around that. So what I did was I went out and found the list of other people that have also had 50-point games. So before you sort of get too excited and, put your retirement money into Malachi Flynn, other people have had 50 balls: Purvis Short, Jamal Crawford, Muhammad Abdul Rauf. Now, that is a name I've not heard for a long time. Nick Anderson, Corey Brewer, Wheelie Burton, Tony Delk, Eric Gordon, Jim Jackson. Man, I loved that guy back in the day. Brandon Jennings, Neil Johnson from 1954, Karis LeVert, Kevin Martin with that super weird shooting stroke, Vernon Maxwell, Mad Max, CJ McCollum, Andre Miller, which I more think of him for assists than 50 balls, Mike Newland. Now, this is the one that I remembered the most vividly from my childhood is Tracy Murray. He was a three-point specialist that spent a bit of time on Houston Rockets bench, so that's where I'm familiar with him. I looked up his Hoops rookie card. It's currently trading at $1, and another sale was for 10 cents. So
wow, serious?
It's not a home run. Yeah, it's not a home run that someone will get 50 points and then become collectible. So I think that's the narrative there.
Yeah.
I put some stuff on social media on that, and basically what the graph showed is that over time he's gone from $50 all the way down to pretty much to zero. So do I think this is a good buy at the moment? Look, I think for $1, I think have a dabble.
Yeah.
Do I think this is going to bring you back, 10x or 5x? Look, maybe at the best case scenario, but at the same time, he is playing for Detroit, which is, a very tumultuous team at the moment.
Such a nice word to use for them.
I think I'm speaking on behalf of every Detroit Piston player and fan. They'll be looking forward to this season being over.
Oh, it's tomorrow, isn't it? Tomorrow, the day after.
There's not much left.
No, there's one game left.
That has really caught me by surprise, to be honest. Yeah.
And Wemby's resting for it, so his first season is in the books. Anyway.
All right. We've segued to Wemby. Do you think he should be the defensive player of the year?
Yes. No, actually, I think Gobert.
Okay, fine. You want Gobert?
Okay. The team impact, I think the team is important. And here's the key reason the Timberwolves are where they are. And I think impact on the team's success, Gobert gets Defensive Player of the Year, but this is the last year he gets it. Because for all the impact that Wemby's had, the Spurs didn't get to 20 wins.
Yeah. So just really quickly on that. So 2 points. I need to eat humble pie because my argument was that Wolves team was constructed basically faultily and they needed to trade either Gobert or Towns. So I think
a lot of us were saying that, yeah.
There's enough evidence over the 82 games now that actually they're a very good team. So I think, I need to admit when I'm wrong, so I'm admitting that. And I think what you spoke about too is like the defensive efficiency of Gobert, and that is 100% true. There's any denying that. I think you would also be remiss to not say, well, Anthony Edwards' offensive development has been a big part of their success too. And I think... that's why I love basketball, because you need to be a good offensive team to be a good defensive team and vice versa. Like you can't sort of have, all, one or the other.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think that does go hand in hand. And then coming back to Wemby. So the argument I would make for Defensive Player of the Year, and it's a very weak argument, but I haven't seen anyone for a very long time be scared of a play the way that they are with Wemby.
True.
Like people do not want to go in the paint against this guy. And he blocks shots at a rate. He blocked Jokic 5 times. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, you're right. Like
there's something to be said about that. And look, and the
it's
fact
his
of the
rookie
matter
year,
is,
but this guy is going to be
the fact of the matter is, no, I was going to say the fact of the matter is, you're right. Team success does matter, but there's going to come a point in time where the Spurs are good enough, and people are going to be like, we have to vote for this guy. He's just
I do think
changing the game defensively.
To fear, I guess, round out the thought about this. I think Gobert is clearly the Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard if Wemby continues his development into the monster that we think he's becoming.
Yeah.
After one season, we've seen him average 3.6 blocks a game.
It's
like, that's the last one Gobert's winning. Like, this is going to be the Victor Wembanyama award.
It's Sean Bradley-esque with skills, basically.
Yeah.
So sticking with Wemby, now that we've been segueing hard into that, you put something into the sheet, which I'm very grateful of. A Cherry Blossom Choice PSA 9 that just sold for $15,982. These are numbered to just 20. And of all the crazy Wemby sales that's been happening lately, I actually think this is an iconic card, and an iconic parallel of that card. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think this is one of the better purchases that we've seen for a very long time.
Yeah. It's a nice. It's a very. I don't know. I'm still not sold on the cherry blossoms, but
That's fine. I am sure I'm in a minority on this, but I'm going to die on this hill.
since it's numbered to not just one, the fact that it's PSA 9 is a bit annoying. But 15 grand, it actually... Is that a good buy?
I think so. I really do. I think there's going to be a market out there for this card in the long term. And I think sort of the longer you go through time, some of the parallels become less important. And it feels sacrilegious to say this, but I actually wonder if silvers are going to become less important as we move forward, just with the whole population thing.
Yeah, maybe.
I think fast break's going to drop off. And then I wonder if choice... some of the choice prints, like the tiger prints, stuff like that, is going to, become sort of more of a collectible item moving forward. So that's what I'm sort of banking on, in that space. So
Yeah. We'll see.
I think we should have another ad break
Yep.
and then do another couple of segments and then tie this bad boy off, Ad.
Sounds like a plan.
Great. So let's hear from our friends at EJ Cards.
Thank you to our friends EJ Cards for your ongoing support and sponsorship for our show. EJ Cards are a specialty card shop located in 394 to 398 Middleborough Road in Blackburn, Victoria. You can also find them at www.ejcards.com.au, where you'll find a whole range of sports cards, NBA, soccer, cricket, UFC, USA football, baseball, racing, WWE, supplies, and mystery packs, which is something they're really very much known for. The Carson mystery packs for Pokemon, Rimps mystery packs, soccer mystery packs. They've got Japanese Pokemon mystery packs at the moment too, so check out their website for that. Also go to Facebook, EJ Sports Breaks, where you'll find Jules ripping wax for you almost every single day. For listeners of the show, we have a promo code which you'll find in the podcast description. Any orders over $50 get free express shipping. Thank you, EJ Cards, for your support.
We are back and we're going to jump into some flawless basketball. Dropped in the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
It's a beautiful product.
Always
I
has
think
been. Yeah.
where it really hurts is probably not the right word, but where it is for me problematic is obviously the buy into breaks at those prices, and then the skunk level, just being 10 cards in the case. It's very, very tricky for me. So to be honest, for me, flawless is more of an eye candy thing than me jumping into flawless breaks every week or buying my own case. That's just not where my sort of collectability lies. Like I'm not Drake. So what I did want to talk about though, is there any cards that you have seen that you just thought, I really want that card, or is there something that you've seen that you thought, could have been better?
I haven't actually had a lot of a chance to see what's been coming out of the flawless.
Yeah.
Although you did link me one particular pair of cards, and I was a little disappointed.
Oh, even just tell me about that then.
The Halliburton Bill Russell and the Rubio Bill Russell.
Really? Okay.
The Rubio and Bill Russell.
We've got very differing opinions on this, so yeah, please.
The Halliburton one I think is interesting.
Sure.
But Ricky Rubio? What's the point of the
So you think it should be someone else? So maybe Evan Mobley or Donovan Mitchell or sure. Okay, yeah, that's a fair thing.
Yeah. It's I think Halliburton's a good choice. Yeah. I just don't see Rubio as a... God, he's not even... Do you know what I mean? It's not like a top X player.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm with you, yeah. So I love this card because let's just take away the fact that it's a one-of-one card. Mm-hmm. I love this card because... So this is the Bill Russell patch that they put onto their uniforms to pay tribute to him. So now
the 6,
it's taken that off and put it into a card. Mm-hmm. So even if this was, say, numbered to 5 or to 10 or, whatever it was, I just really love the concept of this. And I think my opinion of this is Panini's paying tribute to one of the better men of our generation. So that's
sure.
what I love.
Yeah.
I love about this so much. And so
Yeah.
for me, let's just say I hit the Ricky Rubio. I agree with what you're saying that I would be disappointed it's not Sean Kemp or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think if you did get one of those cards, it's just the type of thing that there's always a price for everything. But in my mind, almost these cards are priceless. You know, I think I love the narrative behind it, and
Yeah.
I think they've absolutely nailed this. I'm very much like in love with these cards. So
I think they are very beautiful. Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a beautiful piece.
Look, I think the overall sentiment for me is that they've done a very good job with the production and the end product this year in terms of the quality control. I think that's been really good. And I think that has been a little bit of the criticism the last couple of years when it comes to iMac and National Treasures. Like, it hasn't been well received in that way. I have not heard a single complaint about Flawless this year. And the only thing I've not been off-put by is just by the diamond cards. And I'm not too sure if that's just a change in my sort of, flavor for this year, because previously I haven't had a problem with them. But now that I see something like this, would I prefer to have a diamond card, or would I prefer to have a very thoughtful patch put into something? I think I would rather have something that looks like this, or maybe another on-card autograph instead of that. But that's a very sort of nitpicky, perspective or opinion.
Yeah,
And there might be people out there that froth for these diamond cards, but it's just not my cup of tea. Per se. Yep. This next segment is about Kyrie Irving and a nice little $1 million bonus that is in his contract. If he plays 50 games and the team wins 50 wins, he gets an extra $1 million into his pocket. I cannot tell you how much I love this on so many different levels, because I think it encourages players to be healthy and play games instead of sitting games out, which I think we have all acknowledged this has been a problem the last few years. And then more importantly, I think it actually encourages somebody to play winning basketball. And
for sure. Yeah, like no doubt.
Yeah, I really think he's bet on himself in this space. And again, that speaks to my soul, immensely. I love this so much. So PSA 10 Silver Kyrie, I can't go past comping one out. $1,350 here. If you look at the sales data from this the last 2 years, it is a steep downhill. So these are originally trading for $5,000. So Mike Geo did a segment on these. This is probably 12 months ago. He was talking about this.
Yeah.
Saying that the prices had dropped so much, he was just buying them up. He's like, this is crazy. Like, why are people dumping these? I'll take them off your hands. So at this price, I actually like this as a buy because of his contributions to the court. He's got a championship. His cultural contributions have been important, and the population on this is really quite low. 27 for PSA.
Yeah.
Higher with Beckett, 124, and one with SGC. So let's sort of just round that up to sort of the 150 mark.
Yeah.
It is still a drop in the ocean compared to Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum. I like this a lot, actually. Yeah.
I tend to agree. I think that era of cards, getting quality cards from that sort of early 2010s.
Yep.
Like they did. It's funny that the Beckett's gemmed at a rate of almost 73%. Yeah.
It could be positive selection. It could be that BGS just grades easier than PSA.
Yep.
I'm just trying to trigger you people at home. Just messing around.
But yeah, definitely an interesting one. I don't know. Would you buy a Kyrie for that?
I think based on how much it's gone down, based on his overall contributions to the game, and yes, the population, I don't have a massive problem with it. I mean, the argument could be made is, can you spend that $1,200 better?
Yeah, better elsewhere. Yeah.
Maybe you could. Maybe that's an argument could be made. But if you're looking at that card in singularity, yeah, I don't actually have a problem with that at all.
Cool.
Right, Josh Giddey, I want to talk about this. Now, again, this is old news because this was put into last week's sheet, but I actually don't care. So this is from the 1st of April. This is from at the Hoop Central on Twitter. Follow these guys. Informative, good content. Josh Giddey's last 5 games, 16 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists, 23 points, 7 boards, 9 assists, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 25, 9 and 4, 19, 9 and 8. So basically what we're talking about here is very well-rounded numbers. Essentially, he's playing a point forward position here. He does a lot of shot creation for them. He does a lot of north-south drives to the basket. He's actually gotten, I think, a fair bit stronger the last 12 months. I think that's the other thing that's really sort of showing out in his game. Now, he had some, let's describe it as off-the-court problems recently, which directly caused his cards to plummet. Looking at the last 6 months, he is down 63%. He is currently trading at $90 USD. Total population of his gem cards is... Sorry, he's of the new breed where it's all PSA and no Beckett. He's got 3 gems with Beckett and 139 with PSA.
Interesting.
Look, at the time when that dropped, I was adamant, this is like a complete stay away, and I'm going to completely roll over now and say it's opposite. I think this is a really, really, really good buy at the moment.
What's his silver going for? 90.
90.
Yeah, I think we'll see in the coming weeks how all of our friends from OKC look. Because I think they've got a top 3 seed potential. Well, we'll know tomorrow. I don't know. Can the Thunder make some inroads in the playoffs? Can these players work together? Is Giddey, SGA, and co the real deal?
So put that aside for 2 seconds. What's the best case scenario for the OKC Thunder, and what's the worst case scenario? Just like
worst case.
Yeah, worst case. First round and out.
First round and out.
Sure, best
and
case.
They look like get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, that's exactly where I sit. Right.
Yeah.
Now, so take that and put it onto his hobby value. Do you think that either of those scenarios is going to change his value negatively that much?
If they get embarrassed in the first round and just basically be shown to be pretenders, yes.
You think people will dump his stuff?
I think there'd be a lot of off-season doubt. I don't think it's going to be trending upwards. I think it'd plateau.
Yeah, sure.
And potentially do what Halliburton's doing and just sort of taper.
Yep.
Because people remember the last game you played, and if you bomb out of the playoffs as a train wreck, it'll impact. But you're right. Like, he did tank out a lot earlier in the season because of...
You very well could be right here. I just think that, like, the upshot here is so much greater than the potential negatives. In that, if you really think about this team and where at the start of the year, if you said this team is going to be the 3rd best team in the West, let's just take the worst case scenario at the moment. They could be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, that's
like,
frightening.
No one was predicting that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other place where I'm sort of sitting with this too. It's like, these guys have had an amazing year. They've done
it's been
fantastic,
phenomenal, actually.
Yeah.
I agree.
Final thoughts, Ad? Where are you at?
I am looking forward to the end of the NBA season and the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's crunch time. And I think it's exciting times ahead, yeah. I don't know. I won't be buying into Malachi Flynn, that's for sure.
What?
I'm not,
that was my A+ recommendation, Ad.
Look, I don't have that kind of pocket change on me.
Call EJ Cards and tell him to put aside some Malachi Flynn.
Any Tracy Murray rookies? Do me a deal.
2 for 1. You get a Malachi Flynn and a Tracy Murray at the same time.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, that was a lot of news.
Yeah, we smashed it tonight. We definitely got through it. So thanks, everyone, for sticking around. Thanks for listening. Our Central Coast listeners, thank you so much. All of our podcast aficionados, thank you for your ongoing support. It means the world to us, so thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.